Day 9 of rain. Your fire is out. Your hides are soaked. The ground under your feet used to be solid. Now it's mud, and the mud is rising. You can't dry your meat. It just rots faster in the wet. You can't sleep on the ground. Water pools under you the second you lie down. You can't leave. Outside, the river has swallowed the path you came in on. This isn't a storm. This is a season, and it's not stopping. Somewhere nearby, your whole camp is asking the same question. Where do we go now? Nobody has an answer yet, but somebody will have to find one. Soon. Today, rain is an inconvenience. You grab an umbrella. You watch it from a dry window. Maybe your flight gets delayed. Maybe your commute gets annoying. For most of human history, that same rain could end you. Wet ground meant no fire. No fire meant no cooked food, no warmth, no way to keep predators back. A few bad weeks of rain wasn't a mood. It was a math problem. Get it right, and your group makes it to spring. Get it wrong, and you don't. There was no forecast, no warning, just water arriving and a decision to make. So what actually goes wrong when it won't stop raining? Problem 1. The ground turns against you. Rain doesn't just fall. It pools. It sits in every low spot around a camp. Standing water turns a living space into a swamp within days. At Starcar, in what's now Yorkshire, England, archaeologists found Britain's oldest known structure. It sat right at the marshy edge of an ancient lake called Flixton. The site dates back around 10,800 years. Lake levels there shifted constantly with rainfall and snowmelt. People built there anyway, right at the wettest, most unstable edge of the landscape. That tells you something important. Staying dry wasn't optional. It was the entire design problem from the very first structures we've ever found. Problem 2. Everything you own gets ruined. Stored grain molds. Hides rot. Tools rust or swell shut. Cordage weakens and snaps. In a rainy climate, keeping supplies dry for months at a time is its own survival skill. Separate from staying warm. Separate from finding food. A whole extra job every single day. Problem 3. Standing water breeds disease. Pooled rainwater attracts insects. It contaminates drinking sources. It turns a campsite into a health hazard, slowly, over weeks. Ancient people didn't understand germs the way we do, but they understood, from hard, repeated experience, that stagnant water near where you slept was bad news. Sickness followed it. Every time. 3 problems. 1 root cause. Water that won't go where you need it to go. So ancient humans did the only thing that actually works against water. They redirected it. Start in Turkey around 9,000 years ago at a site called Catalhoyuk. This Neolithic town had no streets at ground level. None. Houses were packed together, wall to wall, like cells in a honeycomb. People didn't walk between houses. They walked across the rooftops. Entry was through a hole in the roof, down a ladder into the house below. Why build a town with no ground-level doors? Because the ground itself was the problem. Mud, runoff, and waste collected down there. Living above it and moving above it kept daily life out of the muck completely. Rain could turn the ground into swamp, and it wouldn't matter. Nobody needed the ground to get anywhere. It's a strange-sounding solution at first, but it's genuinely brilliant. Redesign the whole town, so rain never gets a vote in how you move through your day. Now jump forward and south to the Maya city of Tikal in what's now Guatemala. Tikal sat in a tropical zone with a wet season lasting 8 months of the year. Too much water for most of the year, then punishing droughts the rest of it. The Maya solution was staggering in scale. Researchers led by Vernon Scarborough at the University of Cincinnati mapped it out in a 2012 study. Tikal's engineers paved and plastered their central plazas. Then they angled those surfaces on purpose, tilting stone and plaster just enough to control where water flowed. Every drop of rain that hit the city center was deliberately channeled toward reservoirs. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was left to chance. One of those reservoirs sat behind the largest dam ever built by the ancient Maya. It stretched over 260 feet long. It stood 33 feet high. It held roughly 20 million gallons of water. That's not a puddle. That's infrastructure on the scale of a modern public works project. And they didn't just store the rain. They cleaned it. Sand and volcanic mineral filters purified the water as it entered the tanks. This was a functioning water treatment system, built well over 1,000 years before modern plumbing existed anywhere. Now go to the Indus Valley, to a city called Mohenjo-daro, roughly 4,500 years old. Its builders laid covered brick drains beneath nearly every street in the city. Rain and wastewater ran through channels underground, not through the streets people actually walked on. Here's the proof it worked. In 2022, catastrophic monsoon floods hit Pakistan. Record rainfall pounded the ruins of Mohenjo-daro directly, and the ancient drains did their job anyway. Water that fell on the site drained straight through the 4,500-year-old system, just like it was designed to. Archaeologists on site said the ruins avoided serious standing water. Meanwhile, the modern town right next door sat under 4 feet of it. Let that sink in for a second. A drainage system built before the wheel outperformed the modern flood response happening a few miles away. 3 continents. 3 completely different climates, cultures, and centuries. One shared idea, discovered again and again. Don't fight the rain. Give it somewhere to go. Here's where this gets bigger than plumbing. Almost every ancient culture has a flood myth. Mesopotamia, Genesis, ancient China, indigenous traditions across the Americas. For a long time, that looked like coincidence, or just shared folklore, borrowed and retold. Then, in 2016, a study published in the journal Science, led by geologist Qinglong Wu, found something striking. Along China's Yellow River, near a Bronze Age site called Legia, researchers dated a massive landslide-triggered flood to around 1920 BCE. An earthquake had dammed the river. The dam eventually failed, sending a wall of water downstream. That timing lines up almost exactly with the legendary Great Flood tied to Emperor Yu. The flood said to have founded China's Xia dynasty. The finding is debated. Not every archaeologist agrees on how directly it connects to the old legend. But the flood itself and its scale are real and dated and enormous. Which raises a much bigger point. These myths probably weren't just imagination. They may be memory, passed down for generations, retold and reshaped, until the story is all that's left of an event that actually happened. Every drainage channel, every roof walkway, every reservoir you just heard about was built by people responding to a real, remembered threat. Rain wasn't background weather to them. It was a recurring test, one their grandparents had failed or survived. And the myths were how they warned their children it was coming again. Go back to day 9 of that endless rain. You're still cold, still wet, but you're not helpless. Somewhere in your memory is a story your elders told you about a flood and about people who survived it by working together and building smart. So you dig a channel to move the water away from your fire. You raise your bedding off the wet ground. You wait it out the way people have waited it out for 10,000 years before you. The rain didn't get less dangerous because ancient humans were tougher than us. It got survivable because they got smarter than the water.